What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another Call of Duty Modern Warfare video. Today we're going to be discussing some of the settings that I use in multiplayer and Warzone. If you guys stick around till the end of this video, just know that I appreciate you and hopefully you can benefit from some of these settings that I am using. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that post notification bell so you guys can see when I post my next video. And yo, I know you guys are all sitting there twiddling your thumbs on your phones. Head over to Twitter, head over to Instagram, drop me a follow to keep up to date with me. Links to those will be in the description below as well. Yo, before we hop into these settings, I want to throw this in there. If this video somehow gets 30 likes, I will post a video over my PC settings, my keybinds, and what I use on PC. I know 30 likes is a lot for a brand new channel, but something's telling me I think you guys can do it. Let's see if we can do it. Smash that like button and let's hop right into these settings. We're going to start with the controller tab. For button layout preset, I know a lot of you guys are probably playing on a default controller. If you are, I'd recommend using tactical unless you play claw. I claw my controller, so I personally still use default, but if you do not claw your controller, you're going to want it on tactical. That's going to make it easier for you to jump shot, for you to go prone. It'll just make your movement a lot better, so I'd recommend tactical for that. For stick layout preset, I'm going to keep this on default. Southpaw Legacy, I'm just convinced if you guys use anything other than default, you're just not human, so we're just going to leave it at that. Invert vertical look. This is another one. If you use anything other than disabled, you're just not human. Dead zone. This is a very important one. The default for dead zone is typically 0.20. What this is just the response of your analog sticks. If you put it too low, you may notice that there's some stick drift, or if your controller already has a stick drift issue, you want to raise this. I wouldn't do anything over 0.20. A lot of people play on 0.15, which is probably the most normal dead zone. I personally like a faster response with my analog stick, so I'm going to be using 0.05. For my horizontal stick sensitivity, I'm going to be rocking a 5. Vertical stick sensitivity, a 5. Now for these, I've been slowly working my way up. With Warzone, there's a lot of situations where you need to snap onto another enemy, where you need to look around quick. A lot of people play on a lot higher than 5. I am right now comfortable with 5. That's what my aim is good with, so I'm going to keep it at that. ADS sensitivity, I keep mine at a 1. ADS sensitivity multiplier high zoom, I also keep it at a 1, which these are both default, so I don't change these at all. My aim response curve type, I keep this at standard. This one's also personal preference. I know a lot of people use linear or dynamic. I have a few friends that also use that. I've never used anything other than standard, so I can't give any input on that. Controller vibration, this is a huge one. If you're new to Warzone or if you're new to Call of Duty in general, a lot of you probably have this enabled by default. I highly recommend disabling this. This will keep it to where you're aiming. You don't want your controller just shaking in your hand, throwing off your aim, so I always recommend to have that disabled. Aim assist, this is also another one that I've seen people use. Multiple people have used precision. I personally use standard. I think it's the best one so far. I've tried other ones and it just didn't feel right. It made my aim a little off, so I'm gonna stick with standard. Weapon mount activation, I keep this default. Weapon mount movement, I keep this enabled. Aim down sight behavior, I keep it at hold. You don't want it at toggle. That's if you were to hit like your left trigger once, it's gonna stay aimed in. You'd have to hit it again to zoom out, so I keep mine at hold. Equipment behavior, hold. Use reload behavior, and oh my gosh, this is probably the biggest one for Warzone. I would recommend using tap to reload if you're playing multiplayer, so you're not just picking up everything on the ground as you're running by. But for Warzone, I highly recommend contextual tap. This makes it to where you can go up to a chest and you just tap square instead of having to hold square. It will let you pick up everything on the ground by just tapping square. It makes it so if you're in a gunfight or you're in a situation where you need to pick up something or grab a loadout super quick, you just tap square and it'll pick it right up for you. Depleted ammo weapon switch, I just keep this at default, keep it at enabled. Slide behavior, hold. Some people like to use tap. I still use hold personally, just because I like to jump out of my slides a lot. Tap, you just tap the slide button and you'll just keep sliding by one tap. You don't have to hold your finger on it. Like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and continue to use hold. Auto move forward, I have that disabled. Automatic sprint, this is another one that I've seen people use pretty frequently. They'll have the automatic sprint so they can just click it once and your guy keeps sprinting. I keep this disabled. I'm still weird, so I hold down the sprint button everywhere I go. Vehicle camera, I just keep this on default. Parachute auto deploy, I keep this enabled because I somehow managed to face plant the ground more than once, at least a night, so we're going to keep that on. Let's head over to the general tab. Brightness, I keep this at 50. This also can vary depending on what monitor you have, what settings you're using on your monitor. Personally, I use an Asus monitor. I just keep mine on 50. It works for me. Safe area. This is one that I personally don't like to bring all the way in. You'll notice that like a lot of competitive players or wager players, just anybody in general, a lot of people bring this in so you don't have to move your eyes as much to see the mini map. I keep mine about halfway between fully out and all the way in. That's what I like. Film grain, I keep that at 0. Tooltips, I keep this enabled, which I probably could disable this, but I've just left that at default. Subtitles, I keep this disabled as well. Language, English, I don't know any other language, so I'm gonna keep it at English. Colorblind, this is a very important one. I've seen a lot of people use the other settings for colorblind. I personally am not colorblind, and I've also seen people that aren't colorblind and they like to use these for better visuals. I personally like the default visuals, so I keep this disabled. Motion blur, this is very important. When you first load up Warzone for the first time, these are default enabled, and these just mess with your FPS and your performance, so I actually disable both of these. Minimap, this is another one that's set to round by default, and I change mine over to square. You can just see more when it's on the square minimap. There's more field to view. Minimap rotation, I keep this enabled just because I like when I'm in a situation I need to know which direction to go. If you don't have this enabled, the map on the left with disabled will just make it look like you're running to the right. I don't know, it just doesn't rotate with your player, and I like having it rotate with my player. Compass, cardinal, direction text, I leave this by default. Text chat, I keep that disabled. I think that's about it for this. Let's head over to audio. This is another one that's super personal preference, and this is going to change depending on what headset you have. If you're using a mixer, if you're using a game DAC, if you're using Astros, if you're using the mix amp, what equalizers you're using on the Astro. There's so many things that go into this. I currently have mine set up for footsteps, and I don't know, a lot of people will say that boost low works better for footsteps, but for me, I've actually seen that boost high is a better fit for my headset and the settings I'm using. I am using the Astro A40s with the tournament equalizer preset, so I use boost high. I keep my master volume at 100. I turn it down on the mix amp. Some people, if you don't have a mix amp, you'll want to turn this down a lot. This game is very loud. Music, I keep it at 25 just because I don't like hearing the loud music. Dialogue, I keep it at 100. Effects volume, this one's very important. This is the footsteps, things like that. You want to keep this one at max 100. Juggernaut music, I keep it enabled. Hit markers, I keep it Modern Warfare. So for voice chat, I know a lot of people in game have had issues with like their game chat sounding bad. If you have that issue, go ahead and go over here and try out these other two. I know I used to have another headset and the stealth comms sounded way better than the no effect, but with the Astro A40s, I'm gonna be using no effect. That's what I'm gonna stick with. Alright guys, so that is going to wrap up today's video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about these settings. If you've tried them, if you've benefited from them, just let me know in the comments below. And as always guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.